Métis people who share a deep connection with this land. My name is Loyola, and I am the Alberta NDP critic for infrastructure and MLA for Edmonton-Ellerslie in southeast Edmonton. I'm joined here today by Sarah Hoffman, NDP deputy leader and critic for education, and by my fellow South Edmonton candidate Nathan Ip, NDP candidate for Edmonton-South West, and Edmonton Public School Board trustee. We're also joined by Brianna Burrett, a parent from the Edgemont community. It's no surprise that this area is one of the fastest growing parts of Edmonton. And we have seen communities extend past the Henday as new families flock here to build their homes and start their lives. And as families choose the south communities of Edmonton, the services they need must follow. That includes businesses, roads, grocery stores. We need a new hospital, which the UCP has delayed badly, with no answers for residents on when that will move forward. And an incredibly important piece to any community that the UCP has ignored South Edmonton for far too long is schools. To many families, they're driving their kids 10, 20, and even 40 minutes in the winter to get to the closest school available to them. And the kids who bus, you're looking at 45 minutes to an hour on the bus each way. This community needs schools so it can be a community and kids can grow within it. To share her experience on not having a school in her neighborhood, I would like to invite Brianna Burrett to speak. Brianna?
Hello, and thank you for having me here today. My name is Brianna Burrett, and I'm a parent and a resident in Edgemont. Next year, my daughter is starting kindergarten. As a teacher myself, I'm so excited for her to get to experience the classroom and learn new things and form new friendships. But with her first day approaching, I'm very concerned by our lack of options here. We've been waiting for a school for years, and there are thousands of school-age kids in the area. All Edgemont residents and their students are designated to attend a school in another non-neighboring community. My daughter's designated school is a 45-minute bus ride away. So at 4.5 years old, in her first school, taking the bus every day for that length of time, that's a really scary thought for me. The situation has left parents in Edgemont without a lot of options. Many of them have to drive their kids. Some of the parents that I've spoken with have been having issues at work with that additional commute, and some have even had to change their jobs or quit. I also know people who have moved out of the community entirely in favor of a home with a school in walking distance. The lack of a school here is really a quality of life issue. At my house, we're already starting to make driving arrangements for next year, and with both of the parents in the house working, this is going to be really, really tricky. As a teacher, I know that students learn better when they have a chance to move their bodies, and walking to and from school each day, if they are able, allows this opportunity. Because Edgemont students have to be driven or transported out of the community, they lose this opportunity for unstructured physical activity and all of those health and social benefits that come along with it. This means some kids in the area are spending upwards of 8 to 10 hours a week on a bus. I don't want this for my daughter, whether she is 4 or 14. I truly believe that a school provides more than a place of learning. Building a school in Edgemont will create and enhance a sense of community and belonging here. Kids in the neighborhood will actually be able to attend the same school, and they will have the opportunity to form relationships, which we know is really important to their mental health. Right now, the kids that live down the street from us are designated to attend a different school than my daughter. So only a few houses separate us, but the kids will be limited in all of their opportunities to connect. Plus, there's really minimal community infrastructure in new areas like Edgemont, so a school site will serve as a place of gathering and social cohesion. There are no soccer fields or baseball diamonds out here, but funding a school will create some much needed recreational space as well. So it's very important that we get more schools in Southwest Edmonton, and here in Edgemont at the site around us, this area of Edgemont is growing and quickly, and we need to meet the needs of our community with a local school. Thank you.
Thank you, Brianne, for sharing your family's experience with us. I know you're in the same boat with many parents in Edgemont, and it can't be easy. Having been a resident of Edmonton-South West for many years and an Edmonton Public School Board trustee for 3 terms, I can tell you, without a doubt, that the communities of Edmonton-South West are in desperate need for more schools. I have said many times before, we have reached a crisis point. The division is facing unprecedented growth. Edmonton Public Schools has grown by 5,000 students as of September alone. And this is in addition to the yearly growth of approximately 3,000 students that we've experienced for the past several years. And most of these students are in the southwest part of the city. This past year, Edmonton Schools anticipated to serve 107,000 students, and we surpassed that projection by more than 2,000 additional students. We are now serving nearly 110,000 students. That's larger than the entire city of Red Deer. Let's think about that. Many of these kids and young families live in Southwest Edmonton, and we need the schools to support the growth. For the past 2 funding cycles, the UCP has refused to make any funding announcements for Edmonton Public School families. That means no new schools in communities like this, despite the fact that Edmonton Public School Division is growing by almost the size of a large high school every single year. The impact is clear. As you've just heard, parents are sending their children on the bus to the closest school with available space, which can mean long bus rides. Others are commuting to different areas of the city with their children to access programming options or a school that meets their specific needs because there is no neighborhood school. 3 out of the top 5 schools rank ordered on Edmonton Public's capital plan are in Edmonton-South West. And just yesterday, the board adjusted the capital plan to reflect the urgent needs of growing communities. Today, the division's top 2 priorities are both in this riding, Glenridding and right here in Edgemont. But let's be clear, all 8 of the Year 1 schools outlined in Edmonton Public's capital plan are needed now. I want to emphasize that it is a 3-year capital plan, not a 10 or 20 years down the line. Yet, the UCP continues to pit community against community by blaming boards for not submitting the right list of capital plan priorities. That does a disservice to our communities. Without urgently needed schools, kids growing up on the same streets in Edmonton-South West continue to attend different schools, fragmenting and fracturing communities and families. It is unacceptable that with such unprecedented growth, the UCP has completely shut out Edmonton Public families 2 years in a row. I call on the UCP to finally listen to families of Edmonton-South West and green light the funding. But it is no secret that Albertans simply cannot trust the UCP. So that is why today I stand here with my Alberta NDP colleagues to commit to residents of Edmonton-South West that an NDP government will build schools in the neighborhoods of Glenridding and Edgemont. No more delays, no more long bus rides. We recognize the needs of families in these growing parts of the province, and we will not ignore the fundamental pieces that will help them build their futures. We will invest in critical school infrastructure that supports kids, families, and communities. Now I would like to turn things over to Sarah Hoffman.
Thanks, Nathan. I'm so excited to stand here with you today, as well as Rod, for this important commitment to the families of South Edmonton. And thank you to Brianne for joining us and sharing her experiences as a parent. We've watched as Edmonton Public has been shut out of the capital plan for the last 2 funding cycles, which has meant no new schools for families in Edmonton anywhere, public families, especially not in Southwest Edmonton. And it's part of an ongoing pattern of behavior from this government to attack and erode public education. In this budget, the UCP shorted funding to Edmonton Public by over 1,700 students and Calgary Public by 1,500 students. Over the past 2 years, the UCP has withheld $1 billion from our K-12 students. They cut PUF as well as RCSD for funding for kids with complex needs. And we have 1,000 fewer teachers today than we did when Rachel Notley was the Premier. So enough is enough. Education must be a priority for any government. We need more teachers. We need more schools. And that's absolutely the case right here in Southwest Edmonton. Students in this city shouldn't have to take a bus to get to school. Parents shouldn't be burdened with the stress of having to find a space in an overcrowded classroom for their child 2 or 3 communities over. This area is growing. This city is growing. And the UCP has failed to support families who want to choose a neighborhood Edmonton public school. So let me underline what Nathan said. Edgemont needs a K-9 school, and Glenridding Heights needs a junior-senior high school. And an Alberta NDP government led by Rachel Notley with Nathan Ip at the table will build these schools. We will have more details to share in the weeks and months ahead about other important school announcements for Alberta families too. But today, I'm very excited to take your questions. Thank you.
Thanks. We'll go to questions on the phone. Just a reminder, press *9 if you're joining us on the phone, and the raise hand function if you're joining us via Zoom. First caller, if you could say your name and your outlet at the top.
With Alberta today. When Nathan brought this up about a month ago, the current MLA for the area said that he had tried to arrange meetings with parents in Windermere, Ambleside, and Glenridding, and said that the requests for a meeting were ignored. I'm wondering if you could respond to that. What happened there when the MLA for the area said that he wanted to meet?
I don't know if Mr. Madhu is referring what he's referring to. He certainly did not request to meet with me. I would have met with him and have certainly in the past, where I've been very consistent about the urgent need for more schools. And so I can't respond to that specific meeting he's referring to because it certainly wasn't to me or to my office.
Yeah, and I guess to follow up, perhaps Sarah might have some more details. But that's a lot of schools to build, and I'm wondering, have you reconsidered your position on P3s? How will you be funding these capital projects?
You know, I personally do not support P3s. They have not been a good way to build schools. As far as what an NDP government will do, I will leave that to our leader. But what I can say is that there are better ways to build schools in a P3, and we have seen that. We have seen that very clearly demonstrated.
I can add to that.
And I'll pass it on to
Thanks.
Sarah.
Yeah, absolutely agree with what Nathan said, and there are many examples, including examples right in the current education minister's own riding of schools that we built when we were in government. under traditional procurement models. And when we've met with the current board, the Red Deer Catholic Board, they've said thank goodness. They had to make a number of changes to the design as it was being built to accommodate for the realities of the construction cycle. Their overwhelming feedback from boards is that they want traditional procurement. They like being in charge of the process and working with Alberta Infrastructure to make sure that the needs of their community are met. And also past PC governments rejected P3 builds for schools because they realized that they weren't saving any money and they were causing great stress and negative impacts to the children and the staff in those schools. So we definitely built and modernized 240 schools while we were in government. There are many more that need to be built and modernized in this province as we move ahead, and we're proud that we were able to do that through traditional procurement models.
One more pass for questions. *9 if you're joining us on the phone. Raise hand if you're joining us via Zoom. Seeing none, that's all for today. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Good job, Nathan.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate it. It's always great.